He said it like a warning, like a wall, like something he needed to believe more than I did. "I can't be gay," he told me behind the bleachers on a cold autumn afternoon, his hands shaking even though he tried to hide it. And maybe he really believed that. Maybe he thought words were enough to hold back everything his eyes betrayed every single time they met mine. He was a school straight golden boy, the one who dated cheerleaders, the one everyone wanted a piece of, the one who knew exactly how to act so nobody questioned a thing. Except with me. With me. He forgot every script he was supposed to follow. He forgot who he was trying to be. Because the truth is simple. You can only hide desire until it starts burning through every lie you've told yourself. And the day he finally let himself look at me, truly look at me, everything he'd been denying began to crumble. What happened after that changed both of our lives forever, in ways neither of us were ready for. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss our most emotional and deeply human stories. Now, let's start from the moment he first whispered those words that he hoped would save him, but only trapped him deeper. The first time he looked at me, really looked at me, it wasn't a hallway or a classroom or anywhere people might expect. It was in the gym, late, long after basketball practice had ended and the echo of bouncing balls had died out. I was alone, sweeping the court because coach liked to build character by giving the quiet kid extra cleanup duty. The lights were half dimmed, the air smelled like sweat and varnish, and I didn't even hear him walk in, but I felt him, a shift in the room, a presence I couldn't ignore. When I turned, he was standing by the doorway, still in his practice uniform, his hair damp from a post-practice shower. His name was Liam Carter, Jr., straight, popular, the kind of boy who walked through school halls like they belonged to him, the kind of boy who smiled easily, joked loudly, and pretended like nothing in the world could ever shake him. Except right then, something in him was shaken. He leaned against the doorway and crossed his arms like he was trying to look casual. But his eyes weren't casual at all. They studied me with this strange intensity, as if he was trying to understand something he didn't have the words for. "You're here late," he said. "I always am," I replied, sweeping the last corner of the court. He stepped onto the gym floor slowly, like he was entering forbidden territory. "You don't have to do all that alone, you know." "It's fine," I said. "I'm used to it." He paused. His eyes followed me as I walked. I felt the weight of his stare on my shoulders, on my back, on the side of my face. It made my pulse quicken, not because he was a popular guy, but because his gaze felt confused, like he wanted something he wasn't supposed to want. "Can I help?" he asked. That surprised me. Liam never offered help to anyone below his social orbit, but I shrugged. "Sure, if you want." He walked over, picked up the other broom, and started sweeping with me. The gym was quiet except for the drag of bristles across the floor. I tried to ignore how close he was standing, but the silence between us grew heavy, not awkward, just charged. At one point, our brooms collided. He looked up at the same time I did, and our eyes locked. That was when it happened. His entire expression softened. Something vulnerable, something unguarded flashed across his face. He didn't look away. If anything, he leaned closer. I swallowed. "You okay?" He blinked like waking up. "Yeah, just tired." But he wasn't tired. He was terrified, not of me, but of whatever he felt in that moment. He stepped back, cleared his throat, and resumed sweeping like nothing had happened. But something had happened. After we finished, we put the brooms away. I thought he'd leave first, but he stood there, hesitating, his fingers tapping against his thigh. "You walking home?" he asked. "Yeah, I can give you a ride." I froze. Liam Carter didn't give people like me rides. People like me walked. People like me stayed invisible. He must have realized how weird the offer sounded, because he quickly added, "I mean, it's late, and it's cold. That's all." I should have said no. I knew better. But something in his eyes, something that looked a lot like longing, made me say, "Okay." The drive was quiet at first. His car smelled like pine and cologne, and the faint sweetness of gum. He kept drumming his fingers on the steering wheel, glancing at me every few seconds as if checking I was still there. "You're quiet," he said. "So are you." He laughed softly. "Guess we matched today." We drove past rows of dark houses, the streets lit only by cheap street lamps. When he reached my neighborhood, the part of town nobody bragged about, he slowed down. Something in his jaw tightened. "You live around here?" he asked softly. "Yeah, over there." I pointed to my apartment complex. He pulled over and turned off the engine, but he didn't unlock the doors. Didn't reach for the handle. Didn't say goodbye. Instead, he leaned back in his seat and stared at the roof of the car like he was fighting with himself. "You know what people say about me," he said quietly. I frowned. "That you're an athlete? Popular? Straight?" He flinched a little at that last word. Straight. That was the moment I understood. He turned his head slowly, eyes heavy, conflicted, terrified. "I don't know what's wrong with me," he whispered. "Nothing's wrong with you," I said, even though I wasn't sure what he meant yet. He looked at me, really looked at me, with the same intensity as in the gym, like I was the mirror he'd spent his whole life avoiding. "I can't be gay," he said. The words dropped between us like a stone. I held my breath. His hands were trembling. He turned his face away like he was ashamed, but his eyes stayed locked on mine in the reflection of the window. "I can't be gay," he repeated, voice breaking this time. I can't be." I didn't touch him, didn't move. I just asked the only question that mattered. "Then why are you looking at me like that?" His breath stopped. I saw it. His pupils widened. His lips parted just slightly, and for a second I could feel the air shifting between us. He looked away first, exhaling sharply, gripping the steering wheel like he needed something solid to hold on to. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I shouldn't look at you like that." But he wasn't sorry. His eyes betrayed him again when he glanced back at me, full of the truth he was trying to bury. He unlocked the door with a shaky hand. "You should go," he said, "before I do something stupid." I stepped out, still stunned. The cold hit me immediately, but it didn't wake me from a moment. I leaned down, meeting his eyes one last time. "Looking at someone isn't stupid, Liam." He swallowed hard. "It is when it's you." And then he drove away, leaving me standing under the dim streetlight, heart racing, wondering how a single look could change everything. For the next few days, Liam avoided me like I carried a storm in my pockets. He walked a different route to class, sat on the opposite side of the cafeteria, kept his eyes locked on the floor whenever I passed. And yet, somehow, I could feel him watching me, in the reflection of a locker door, through the classroom window, in the quiet moments when he thought no one would notice. He was terrified of being near me, but he was even more terrified of being away from me. The strange thing was, I understood it, because every time our eyes almost met, every time our shoulders almost brushed in the hallway, something inside me tightened. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Something warm. Something dangerous. The school felt different that week, like a quiet tension had wrapped itself around us, full of possibilities we were both afraid to touch. On Thursday, everything changed. I had gone to the library after school, like I always did, hiding behind a corner table with my headphones on. The library was mostly empty, just the lingering hum of the heater and the soft scratch of notebooks being filled by the last-minute studiers. I liked the silence. Silence didn't ask questions. Silence didn't judge. I was halfway through my homework when I felt someone walk up behind me. A shadow fell across my table. I looked up. Liam. His hair was messy, like he'd run his hands through it 100 times. His backpack hung off one shoulder. His eyes, those eyes that looked away from everyone else, finally met mine. He swallowed hard. "Can I sit?" I stared at him for a moment. "I thought you didn't want to be near me." I didn't say that. His voice cracked. "I just didn't know how to be." He sat down without waiting for permission, elbows on the table, hands clasped together like he was praying. He kept glancing around, making sure no one was watching. Then he leaned closer. "Can we talk?" he whispered. I closed my notebook slowly. "About what?" His throat bobbed. "About the other night." I held his gaze. Waiting, he exhaled shakily. I shouldn't have said those things in the car. I panicked. You said you can't be gay, I replied quietly. I figured you meant it. His eyes shut for a second, like the words physically hurt him. I didn't mean it the way it sounded. Then how did you mean it? He rubbed his forehead with both hands. I mean, I can't let myself be. He looked up at me, his voice breaking. You don't understand what people expect from me. I felt something twist inside me. People expect you to be straight. He winced. I'm not saying you're not, I added gently. But you don't have to live your life based on what people decide for you. You don't get it, he repeated, louder this time. My dad would kill me. My team would never look at me the same. My friends. I cut him off softly. And what about you? What do you want? He froze. The question shattered something in him. His face changed. Fear, confusion, longing, all woven together so tightly I could barely tell them apart. I don't know, he whispered. Yes, you do, I said. You just don't want to say it. His eyes flickered, not away, but toward me. Like he was being pulled by gravity, he no longer had the strength to resist. Then he stood abruptly. Come with me. What? Please, he said. I just need to be somewhere we can talk without people listening. I hesitated only a moment before packing my things and following him out of the library. He led me down the hall, past the gym, past the science rooms, to the old music wing nobody used after school. The lights were off, the hallway dim. He walked into the last room, a practice studio with a single window and a dusty piano in the corner. He closed the door behind us. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Liam turned to me with a look so intense it made my chest tighten. How do you do it? He asked, voice barely above a whisper. Do what? Live with people judging you, staring at you, talking about you behind your back. How do you not break? His voice was cracking, his hands shaking. I took a step closer. Who said I don't break? He blinked, shocked. I'm scared too, I said softly. Every day. But being afraid doesn't change who I am. He looked at me like those words cracked something open inside him, something he'd spent years cementing shut. He took one step toward me, then another. His breathing grew shallow, uneven, like he was fighting every instinct he'd ever had. I'm not supposed to feel like this, he said, voice trembling. Not about you. Not about. He stopped himself, shaking his head violently. But when I look at you, I can't think straight. I can't think at all. I whispered, then stopped thinking. The moment stretched electric. He closed his eyes, brow furrowed in pain. I don't know if I'm gay. You don't have to know. He opened his eyes again, and there it was, the truth, raw, terrified, beautiful. He stepped close enough that I could feel the warmth of his breath. His fingers lifted, hesitating in the air like they were reaching for something he wasn't allowed to touch. Tell me I'm not crazy, he whispered. You're not crazy. His hand moved, slow, trembling, until his fingertips brushed my wrist. Just a touch, barely there, but it felt like the room shifted around us. Liam swallowed hard. If I touch you more than this, I won't be able to pretend anymore. And if you want to pretend, I said softly, then stop now. His hand didn't stop. It slid gently down my arm, his fingers curling around mine. His chest rose and felt like he'd just run across the whole schoolyard. His eyes were wide, terrified, and full of something he couldn't deny anymore. I can't be gay, he whispered again, but this time the words weren't a shield. They were a confession. And then he whispered the part he had never dared to say aloud. But I can't stop wanting you. For a long moment, we stood there in the dim practice room, our hands barely touching, the air thick enough to taste. Liam's fingers trembled in mine like he was holding fire, something that could burn him, something he couldn't let go of. His breathing was uneven, heavy, the kind that came from holding in something for too many years. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I didn't want to scare him back behind the walls he'd lived in his whole life. He kept staring at our joined hands like they were proof of something he wasn't ready to accept and couldn't look away from. His thumb brushed the back of my hand in a shaky line, and the moment he realized he'd done it, he inhaled sharply. "I shouldn't be doing this," he whispered. "Then why are you?" His eyes finally lifted to mine, and what I saw wasn't confusion anymore. It wasn't denial. It was longing, raw and terrified. "Because," he said, voice breaking, "I feel like I can breathe when I'm near you, and I don't know how to deal with that." My chest tightened. No one had ever looked at me the way Liam Carter was looking at me right then. Like he was drowning, and I was the only thing he could reach for. He stepped closer, so slowly, like every inch was a decision. I could feel the heat from his body now, the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands twitched as if wanting to hold more than just my fingers. "I don't think I'm gay," he said softly. "You don't have to label it." "But I want to understand it," he whispered. "I want to understand why it's only you." That confession struck deeper than anything else he had said. His voice wasn't angry. It wasn't confused. It was gentle, almost pleading. He wasn't asking me for a definition. He was asking me for truth. "For me?" I said quietly, "It's simple." "How?" he asked, stepping just an inch closer. "Because," I said, "when I look at you, everything else feels quieter." His breath caught. Something softened in his face. Something he'd been fighting for too long. He reached up, cupping the side of his neck like he was trying to hold himself together. "I've never felt like this," he admitted. "Not with anyone. Not even with girls." The way he said it, embarrassed, almost ashamed, broke my heart a little. "It's okay," I whispered. "You don't have to compare it." He let out a shaky laugh. "I hate that you're the only person I can talk to about this." "Why?" "Because," he said, taking another step toward me until our chests were only a few inches apart, "you're also the only person I can't stop thinking about." My pulse thudded so loudly I swear he could hear it. Liam reached out again, this time with more certainty, and brushed the side of my jaw with his knuckles. His touch was so gentle, like he was testing the temperature of something he'd been afraid to touch his whole life. "I don't know what I'm doing," he whispered. "You don't have to." He exhaled, and then, with slow, terrified courage, he let his fingers slide up to my cheek. It was the softest touch I'd ever felt, hesitant, warm, trembling. His thumb traced my cheekbone and lingered there. His eyes dropped to my lips for one unbearable second before flicking back to mine like he'd just committed a crime. "I shouldn't want this," he whispered. "But you do." His hand fell away instantly, and he stepped back as if waking from a dream. He ran a shaking hand through his hair, pacing the tiny room. "I can't do this," he murmured. "Everyone already expects me to be something. They expect me to date girls, to be the guy who has everything figured out. My dad thinks I'm—" His voice cracked. He wouldn't accept this. I swallowed hard. "You don't have to tell anyone." "That's the problem," he said sharply. "I want to, but I'm terrified." He stopped pacing and leaned against the piano, gripping the edge so tightly his knuckles turned white. "I don't want to be the confused guy," he said. "I don't want people whispering or laughing or asking questions I don't have answers to." I stepped toward him slowly. "You're allowed to be unsure. You're allowed to be figuring things out. But what if the answer ruins everything?" he whispered. And then he looked up, really looked up, and I saw the truth flashing behind his eyes. The answer scared him. Because the answer was me. I stepped close again, until we were inches apart. The room felt too small for everything happening between us. "You're not ruining anything by being honest," I said quietly. "You think that," he whispered, "because you're brave." I shook my head. "I'm not brave. I'm just tired of hiding." He stared at me, his breathing unsteady, and for a moment I thought he was going to pull away again. But then something in him snapped, not breaking, but freeing. He reached for me, not my hand, my waist. His fingers hesitated on my hoodie, then curled into the fabric. He pulled me closer, carefully, like he was afraid I'd disappear. "Liam," I breathed. He rested his forehead against mine. The world went silent. "I can't stop looking at you," he said in a fractured whisper. "I can't stop wanting to be near you. I can't stop thinking about what it would feel like to He stopped himself, his breath shaking. I'm so scared. I lifted my hand to his face, the same way he'd touched mine, and felt him melt into the contact. It's okay to be scared, I said. Just don't run from it. His breath hitched, and then he leaned in, slow as sunrise, giving me every second to pull away. I didn't. Our lips didn't touch. Not yet, but his breath brushed mine, warm and trembling. Every muscle in his body shook. I don't know how to do this, he whispered. You're doing it right now. His lips parted. His hands tightened on my waist. His forehead pressed harder against mine. And then, with the quietest, most terrified courage, he whispered, "Tell me not to kiss you." My heart stopped. Why would I do that? I whispered back. He inhaled sharply, a sound full of relief, fear, and something dangerously close to longing. That's what scares me, he said. For one suspended, impossible moment, we stood there with our foreheads pressed together, sharing the same trembling breath. The room felt too small for everything happening inside it. The shaking in his hands, the pounding in my chest, the thousands of unsaid words falling heavy between us. Liam's fingers tightened on my waist like he was holding onto the edge of a cliff. He waited, not for permission, for escape, for some miracle that would tell him he wasn't about to cross a line he could never uncross. But escape didn't come. All I could feel was him, his warmth, his fear, his want. He whispered again, voice barely a sound. "Tell me not to kiss you." I swallowed hard. "I won't." He let out a shaky breath. "Then I don't know how to stop." "You don't have to stop," I whispered back. His lips trembled, not touching mine yet, just hovering close enough to make every nerve in my body burn. Then something happened, something small but seismic. His hand slid from my waist up my spine, dragging a line of heat through the fabric of my hoodie. He paused at the back of my neck, his thumb brushing the hollow of my hairline. I felt him shiver. "Why does this feel like the world is ending?" he murmured. "Because you've never let yourself feel before." His breath hitched. "I don't know if I'm gay." "I don't care what you are." His forehead pressed harder into mine, as if my words were a lifeline he wasn't ready to take but desperately needed. He whispered, "I'm so scared of wanting this." "But you do," I said softly. He exhaled like he'd been holding that truth in for years. And then, with a kind of terrified surrender, he leaned closer. Our lips brushed. Just barely. Just enough for electricity to crackle through me like a spark in the dark. He froze instantly, breathing sharp, shallow. "Oh, God." "Liam," I whispered. "It's okay?" He opened his eyes, too wide, too vulnerable, and pulled back half an inch. "No, it's not. I shouldn't. I don't even know what I—" Before he could spiral, I reached up gently and touched his cheek. He stopped speaking. His eyes shut. He leaned into my hand like he needed that touch to stay standing. "Don't run," I said. He nodded once, so small I almost missed it, and then he came back to me. This time, his lips didn't hesitate. The kiss was soft, almost hesitant, but real. His hands trembled where they gripped my shirt. Mine reached up, fingers sliding into his hair, and the moment I touched him like that, he inhaled sharply and kissed me harder. He made a soft sound, somewhere between relief and desperation. And suddenly he wasn't thinking anymore. He wasn't fighting anymore. He was kissing me like he'd been waiting his whole life for permission. When we finally pulled apart, breathing uneven and shallow, he stared at me with a look I'd never seen before. Something between panic and awe. "What did I just do?" he whispered. "You stopped lying to yourself." He rubbed his thumb against my jaw, almost dazed. "I didn't mean to. I wanted to. He groaned and dropped his forehead onto my shoulder. "I'm such a mess." I laughed softly, sliding a hand along his back. "You're not a mess. You're human." He didn't move. "I don't know what this makes me." "You don't need a label today." He lifted his head slowly. "But what if people find out?" "Then they find out." He shook his head. "You don't understand. If the team knows, if my dad knows," he swallowed hard, "they'll hate me." My chest tightened. "Then they don't deserve you." He flinched. "It's not that easy." "I know," I said gently. But you don't have to figure everything out tonight. He stepped away a little, dragging his hand down his face. I didn't plan this. I didn't want this to happen. His voice softened, but I'm not sorry it did. He looked at me again, eyes searching, almost pleading. Can we just not talk about labels right now? Can I just be a guy who feels something for you? Yes, I said. You can. He exhaled in relief. The tension eased from his shoulders. He sat down on the dusty piano bench and covered his face with his hands. After a few seconds, he peeked through his fingers like he expected me to disappear. I sat beside him, not touching, just close enough for him to feel I was still there. Does anyone else know? He asked quietly. No. No one. And you won't tell? Of course not. He nodded, swallowing hard. Good. Because I don't even know how to tell myself. We sat in silence for a moment. Then he whispered, Can I ask you something? Anything. When did you know you were? I smiled. Gay. He hesitated, then nodded. When I realized I wasn't pretending. He stared at the floor. I've been pretending my whole life. I leaned closer. You don't have to pretend around me. He turned his head, slowly, cautiously, and looked at me again with that same raw vulnerability from before. Then he whispered, Can I hold your hand again? My heartbeat thudded. Yeah, you can. He reached out, intertwining our fingers. This time he didn't pull away. He squeezed my hand like he was afraid of letting go. You make everything feel less scary, he said softly. And you don't have to hide from me. His voice dropped to a broken whisper. I don't want to hide from you. We sat like that for a long time, his hand warm in mine, the quiet settling around us like a fragile peace. Finally he whispered, I don't know what happens next. I squeezed his hand gently. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out. He looked at our joined hands, then at me, then back again, and for the first time, he didn't look afraid. For the rest of that week, Liam walked through school like he was carrying two versions of himself. One everyone could see, and one only I knew existed. The first version moved the way he always had. Confident, charming, laughing too loudly in the hallways with his teammates. The second version lived in the quiet spaces between classes, in the glances he threw at me when he thought no one was watching, in the way he hovered near my locker as if the gravity between us was pulling him closer even when he fought it. We didn't talk much in public. We couldn't. He looked terrified of doing anything that might expose what had happened between us. But every time our eyes met across a classroom or he brushed past me in the hallway, I could feel it. The shift, the electricity, the unspoken truth he couldn't push back down. And then Friday happened. I was at my locker after last period, stuffing my books into my bag, when the air around me changed. A hush, a tension. The kind that crawled under your skin before you even understood why. I turned. Liam's girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, actually, though no one knew that yet, was standing there. Her name was Kayla. Blonde ponytail, cheer captain, the usual story. She stared at me with an expression I'd never seen on her before. Not cruelty, not judgment, curiosity. Dangerous curiosity. You and Liam, she said, crossing her arms. Something's going on. My stomach dropped. What are you talking about? He's been acting weird, avoiding me, avoiding everyone, except you. She leaned in closer, narrowing her eyes. You think I'm stupid? I shook my head, heart pounding. I think you're angry and confused. Damn right I'm angry, she snapped. I didn't get dumped for nothing. I froze. He dumped you yesterday, out of nowhere. She jabbed a finger at my chest. And he did it after talking to you. My throat tightened. Kayla, Tell me the truth, she demanded. Is he cheating on me? With you? The question hit me like a punch. Not because of the accusation, but because of the fear behind her voice. And a part of me wanted to protect her from the truth. But before I could speak, "Kayla, stop." Liam's voice. We both turned. He stood a few feet away, chest rising and falling quickly, eyes locked on me first, then shifting to her. "Leave him alone," Liam said quietly. Kayla stared at him like she didn't recognize him anymore. "So it is him," she whispered. "Oh my God. Liam, tell me it's not true." He closed his eyes for a moment, like he was preparing himself to jump off a cliff. "It's not what you think," he said softly. "Then what is it?" she snapped. "Tell me." His eyes flicked at me again, scared, pleading, overwhelmed. I felt my heart break a little, because I knew what he wanted to say, but couldn't. Kayla stepped closer to him, voice trembling. "Just tell me what's going on. I deserve that much." Liam swallowed hard. "I can't." Kayla stared at him as realization began to dawn, the kind that hurt more than anger ever could. Her voice broke. "It's him." Silence. Liam didn't deny it. Her eyes filled with tears. She backed away slowly, shaking her head. "Wow. Just wow." She turned, pushing to the hallway crowd, before either of us could say another word. The moment she disappeared, Liam sagged against the lockers, running both hands through his hair. "Fuck," he whispered. "I messed everything up." I stepped closer. "You didn't do anything wrong." "I hurt her. I lied to her." He shook his head. "And now everyone's going to know something's off with me." "Liam." "No, don't." He held up a hand. "I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming everything." He looked at me then, eyes raw, scared, searching. "I don't want to hide," he said softly. "Not from you. But I'm not ready for everyone else to know." "You don't owe anyone an explanation," I said. "Not yet. Not ever, if that's what you want." He exhaled shakily. "I wish I could be brave like you." I shook my head. "You are brave. You kissed me even though you were terrified." His breath caught. I can't stop thinking about that. Before I could respond, a loud voice echoed down the hallway. "Yo, Carter," one of his teammates. We both jumped. Liam immediately stepped back from me, creating distance like he'd been burned. His face shifted into the version of himself the world expected. The straight, confident golden boy. His teammate jogged over. "Dude, you okay?" "Kayla's crying in the bathroom, man." "What the hell happened?" Liam forced a laugh, rubbing the back of his neck. "Breakups suck, I guess." The guy shrugged. "Yeah, whatever. Just hope she doesn't spread drama." Then he slung an arm around Liam. "Come on, we're headed to the game early." Liam hesitated. For half a second, he looked at me, really looked, the space between us filled with things neither of us could say aloud in that moment. Then he nodded and let himself be pulled away. But halfway down the hallway, he stopped. He turned back to me, just for a heartbeat. Our eyes locked. And there was again want, fear, something deeper than either of us were ready to name. He didn't wave. He didn't smile. He didn't say a word. But his eyes told me everything. "I'm not choosing them over you. I'm just not ready to lose them yet. Please wait for me." Then he turned away and walked off with his team, leaving me standing alone in a hallway that suddenly felt too big for one person. I leaned against my locker, exhaling shakily. Whatever happened next, none of this was going to stay secret for long. The rumor spread faster than either of us could have imagined. By Monday morning, eyes followed me everywhere. Whispers trailed behind me like shadows. "Did you hear?" "No way, Liam? With him?" The hallways felt narrower, heavier, and though no one said it to my face, the looks were enough. Curious, judgmental, some cruel, some stunned. But the silence was the worst. The silence meant the school had already decided something for us. I was used to whispers, used to being invisible until someone needed a target. But Liam, he wasn't built for this kind of scrutiny. I saw in the way he walked into school that morning. Shoulders tight, jaw clenched, eyes scanning the hallways like he was looking for the safest place to breathe. He didn't find one. His teammates pulled him aside before he could even make it to first period. They crowded around him in the locker room doorway. Their voices a mix of disbelief and discomfort. You dumped Kayla for him? You messing around with that kid? Man, what the hell actually happened? Tell us it's not true. I stood at the end of the hallway, frozen, watching Liam face a firing squad he never asked for. He had two choices, lie or break, and I hated that I wanted him to choose me. Liam rubbed his face with both hands, looking exhausted before the day had even begun. Just drop it, he muttered. But they didn't. So one of them, a tall guy from the team named Marcus, said it louder with a smirk. Come on, just tell us you're not into dudes. That's all we want to hear. Liam froze. Marcus laughed. Yeah, man, tell us you're not gay. And then something happened. A shift, a crack, a moment where the ground tilted. Liam lifted his head slowly, and a look in his eyes made my heart stop. He wasn't scared anymore. He was done. Why does it matter? Liam asked quietly. Marcus blinked. What? Liam stepped forward, jaw set, eyes sharp. Why does it matter to you what I am? Why you care who I like? The hallway went dead silent. Marcus scoffed. Dude, because it's weird. No, Liam said, louder this time. What's weird is that you think it's any of your business. The crowd murmured. People exchanged glances. Phones came out. I felt my chest tighten with panic. This was turning into something big, and Liam wasn't thinking about consequences. He was just telling the truth. Marcus shoved him lightly. Bro, don't start acting. But Liam shoved him back, harder. I'm not acting, he snapped. I'm tired. Of what? Marcus shot back. Of pretending, Liam said. My breath caught. The hallway erupted in whispers. Marcus looked stunned. So, what? You say you're gay now? Liam shook his head slowly. I don't know what I am, he said, but I'm not ashamed anymore. His eyes drifted across the hallway, past the crowd. To me, our eyes locked, and for the first time, he didn't look away. He didn't hide. Silence fell again, thicker this time. Marcus followed Liam's gaze, and it clicked. Oh my God, he muttered. It is him. The crowd parted around me, like a wound splitting open. Every face turned toward me. Heat rushed to my cheeks, but I didn't move, not an inch. Liam took a small step in my direction. Just one, but it felt like the whole world shifted with him. Marcus threw his hands up. Dude, people are going to think you're... Let them, Liam said. Marcus stared at him, baffled. You're seriously choosing him over this team? Liam didn't blink. I'm choosing myself. My throat tightened. I wanted to reach out. I wanted to pull him out of there. But he lifted a hand slightly, just enough for me to understand. Stay. Let me do this. So I did. Liam stepped away from his teammates. The crowd split around him and walked straight toward me. Every step was slow, deliberate, filled with the weight of everything he'd been holding in. When he reached me, he didn't touch me, didn't hold my hand, didn't kiss me. He just stood in front of me, chest rising and falling, eyes full of something raw and real. I'm sorry, he whispered. For what? I whispered back. For hiding you. My breath caught. You don't owe me anything, I said quietly. Yes, he said, shaking his head. I do. I owe you honesty. He took a breath. The kind you take before you jump off a bridge. I like you, he said. Not shouted, not whispered, just said, clear, steady, true. The hallway erupted. Gasps, whispers. Someone dropped their books. But none of it mattered, because Liam wasn't looking at them. He was looking at me like he had finally stepped out of a burning building. He continued, voice trembling but unwavering. I don't know what this makes me. I don't know what happens next. I don't have answers. But I know one thing. He swallowed hard. I don't want to lie anymore. Not to them. Not to you. Not to myself. I felt tears rise, hot and unstoppable. So, he said, louder now. If anyone has a problem with it, he looked around the hallway at every staring face. That's their problem, not mine. The world spun. Liam turned back to me, shoulders loosening for the first time in weeks. Walk with me, he asked softly. I nodded, and then we did the bravest thing we'd ever done. We walked down that hallway together, not holding hands, not kissing, not proving anything, just existing beside each other without fear. And in a place where rumors were louder than truth, we created our own quiet rebellion. Later, when we reached the courtyard,